Trek Geeks Podcast Network is proud to have Fansets as its presenting sponsor. Fansets is the home for amazing pin collectibles with over 400 officially licensed Star Trek pins and new releases every month. Stay tuned for a special discount code worth 10% off your next order at fansets.com. Fansets. Our pins have character. The explosive finale of Strange New Worlds. The future of the Alpha Quadrant balances on the terror of Pike's foreseen future as we revisit a classic TOS episode with a twist. And who's that commanding the Farragut? Is that Captain Kirk? Is this musical captain's chairs? What is going on as we engage the Romulans on the edge of the neutral zone?
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Wasn't it awesome that the music was like the Romulan theme?
Bum, 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 bum.
Yep.
That's what I was like. Wait, is this?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for joining us on Discovering Trek, the Star Trek Universe Companion, presented by Fansets.
This week's episode, A Quality of Mercy, was written by Henry Alonzo Myers and Akiban Goldsmith and directed by Chris Fisher. We see a glimpse into the TOS timeline with more familiar characters, but somewhat out of place as Captain Pike has found a way to avoid the horrible fate shown to him by the Klingons and retain his command. But perhaps he's the wrong person at the right time, where altering the future leads to a confrontation that will throw the quadrant into war.
If you would like to follow the show on social media, you can find us on Twitter at Discovering Trek, or on Facebook. You can join the conversation on Camp Kittimer. Answer a few simple questions, and our admins, Haley, Jackie, Fark, will let you in. A reminder that this episode of Discovering Trek provides spoilers for the Strange New Worlds episode, A Quality of Mercy, William Shakespeare. If you have not watched yet, head over to Paramount Plus and watch the episode. Head on back. Failure to do so leaves you open to spoilers.
Speaking of heading on back, I'm Mike Bovia, and I'm here again.
Welcome back, Mike.
Thank you. It was a much needed rest and recovery, but when the two of you threw out the offer to come back for this episode, there was no way I could pass it up because, man, what an episode this turned out to be. So, hello, Yvette. Hello, Matthew.
Hello.
So much fun to be back together again.
Well, thank you for making the time to join us. We appreciate
Yes.
that. Yeah.
We definitely appreciate it. We missed you.
Thank you. It's nice to be missed.
But I understand you've been tuning into the episode, so thank you for that as well.
Yes, we definitely appreciate that too.
I can't back down from that. I got to hear what the analysis was.
Did we do analysis?
Okay, I got to hear what your thoughts were. How
There you
about
go.
that?
There you go.
Well, speaking about throwing back to the originals, we've got this episode. What do people think? Mike, you've been gone, so you get to start off. Thumbs up, thumbs down. What did you love about this one?
Oh my God, I loved like everything about this episode. Since we got the screener, I had been messaging back and forth with Bill Smith and just saying, man, could they have done something better than this as a finale where they have a nice story that gets wrapped up at the end, but we still get a cliffhanger going into next season. They brought back so many things that everybody who loves TOS era Star Trek got and could appreciate, and didn't do it so tacky where it only came off as fan service too. It was like almost the perfect meshing of how to do fan service without doing fan service, making people happy without making it look stupid. This episode may have, at least at this point, cemented Strange New Worlds as my favorite Trek series.
Whoa.
Wow. I've heard that a lot today.
That's huge. A favorite
is.
of all of them.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay. That's an award in and of itself.
It
Yeah.
is.
That, how did this one strike you?
Well, I didn't hate it.
Okay. All right.
it had a lot to live up to. Balance of Terror is, when I rank Star Trek episodes, TOS, it is number one. You know, it took me a while to like, is this really Balance of Terror? And I was like looking at it and I'm like, they're really doing this. So, I mean, it was done well. I thought it was really done well. Like Mike said, it had a great story. You know, we got to see Kirk, got to see the Romulans. Those Romulans reminded me of Galaxy Quest.
Yes.
When I looked at the, I was like, what is this? And then, you know, it had a cliffhanger at the end. So I won't say it was I didn't hate it at all. I thought it was good. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of convoluted in a way because it just, I don't know. I don't know what to tell. I love Balance of Terror. I just love that episode. And to play with it like that, I don't know. It was kind of sacrilege to me. I mean, I guess if I watch it again, maybe I'll feel a little better. Like I said, it's not my favorite, not my worst. You know, there's another episode I would say I don't like, and it's not. I wouldn't say that about this episode.
What I really appreciated about it, because I'm with you, Balance of Terror is probably my number one. It's kind of a toss up between that and Errand of Mercy. I liked that this was done from the point of view of, this is how Balance of Terror would happen if Pike was in command, and why it was necessary for the Balance of Terror that we love to actually happen.
I saw it, Mike. I got that too. It's just that I don't know. I've heard other people say they really love this, and I just didn't get that from this. I mean, like I said, it's a good one. And I think, you know, I will probably watch it again, but I just don't feel over exuberant about it. I think it was good. Last week was my favorite.
Oh, okay.
This
good.
week, you know, it's all right. It was good. That's it. That's all I got for you.
It's not These Are the Voyages.
I like that one better than most people do. I'm just gonna say that I have a soft place for that one.
I do too.
I do. Yeah. I have mixed feelings about this episode too. Mike, I appreciate what you just said as well. Like the fact that they managed to pull off an episode that has an ending, but still has a cliffhanger. I hadn't thought of it like that. And that is quite smart. I love the parallels that they made between both episodes and the ways that, and Mike, you'd mentioned this as we were just talking before we got started, how they even like matched shots, like the angles in a similar way. You having Kirk walk around that front panel and kind of tap it the way that he does, and Pike does kind of the same thing, and that zoom in on Spock when we find that the Romulans are being revealed and like the eyebrow go up and all that. All those were great. All that stuff is great. There was a lot of love shown to that other episode. But I felt like to make the story work, there were a couple places where it felt a wee bit forced. Like Ortega's felt totally out of character.
Yeah.
That was bad. That was real bad.
Yeah, it felt really strange. I was like, why is she behaving this way? Maybe there's something happens in the 7 years between that we don't know about.
Right.
So there could be something there, but I felt like they just had to make her fit into that Mr. Styles position where that person was being
confrontational,
and there was an element of that story then that kind of gets lost here. And that Balance of Terror was actually, in a way, it was a story about bigotry and about prejudice. And that story gets lost in this version of it, even though it was core to that last one. I don't know if that story was as much about war as it was more about that kind of internal story about prejudice as well. But okay, we'll let that go for a second because we're trying to get this other part here. Another thing was I felt like Kirk was so surprised in a way by Pike's wanting to reach out in peace.
Yeah.
That didn't fit with me either because Kirk really wanted to be peaceful as well. Like, in fact, I went back, I crammed at 150 or 1.5 speed on Netflix right before we watched this. Like, I was like,
oh my God.
I'm like, I need to watch Balance of Terror beforehand because I want to be fair to it. So I had I'm eating pizza after work and I watched it in half an hour and okay, I'm like going to jump in. But when Mr. Styles, he talks about how his ancestors like fought in the first Romulan war.
Yeah.
And Kirk, what does Kirk say to him? He's like, their war. Not ours.
Their war, not yours.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes Kirk gets played too much as like in retrospect, we think of him as being this like fighter, warmonger, and everything.
Yeah. I'm a soldier, not a diplomat.
Yeah, he totally was a diplomat. And he
totally is.
He had a lot of diplomatic qualities. So I felt like this version of Kirk wasn't fair enough to Pike wanting to reach out and it's just and to be talkative and I liked that he did that. What I will say about the episode, I loved that the end point of it is a difference between the relationships of the two empires, the Federation and the Romulans, but they get to the same part personally between Pike and that one Romulan commander as Kirk does with the Romulan commander, where he's like, in another time we could have been friends.
Yeah.
Right.
And they still are, because that Romulan commander has also tired of war and conflict and everything else. I don't know how I feel, and I was going to ask you too about this. What is the message of this? Is it telling us that peace is not a good idea sometimes? Like, what?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was good, but it's something about it that I just did not, like I said, it seemed very convoluted to me.
Mhm.
It just seemed like they were trying to make this work. And as a Star Trek fan and as one who loves that episode, it didn't work. I mean, when they did Trials and Tribulations and they pieced that together, that was magic.
Yeah.
It just worked perfectly. And I love just everything about the production of that episode is just like epic, right?
Yeah, because it was in 1996.
Exactly.
It's seamless. Yeah.
Exactly. And this did not work the same for me.
Okay.
I understand what people are saying. I mean, there was a lot of great stuff. The Monster Maroon looked great with the leather sleeves. There was so much. Like I say about Picard, a lot of shiny objects. So we were all looking at, oh, that looks great. Oh yeah, I love that. Oh, Kirk is here. It was that kind of thing for me again. I just don't think the story did justice to the original.
I will say this. I'm kind of upset Kirk got shoehorned into this episode.
Yep.
I feel like the same story could have been told with any captain on the Farragut.
Yep.
Because the point wasn't that Kirk was there and wasn't allowed to take control.
Yes.
The point was that Pike was still alive and still in command, and this is the decision that he would make, and it would have changed the balance of the galaxy.
There was no need for Kirk at all.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, to be there.
Yeah.
He didn't.
We knew he was going to be there for season 2.
Shiny objects.
Right, which now is interesting. Like, we've seen him revealed here, and he's captain of the Farragut. So next season, is he a lieutenant again?
Well, yeah, he would be, because it's 7 years.
Yeah,
it was 7 years ahead. So we would see a younger Kirk again. Yeah.
I wasn't sure how I felt about this portrayal of Kirk. I did like that in the scenes between them, when they do have disagreements, that it's still like a healthy conflict. It's not one of them yelling like, you should not be in command, and I'm going to relieve you. And it's all of them like, why did you make this decision? And they're able to talk it through and still have this healthy respect for each other. And I appreciated that. I thought almost in a way they were going to do something more like, and this might happen in season 2, I'm guessing, if Kirk shows up again, because we've skipped forward in time. We haven't had an opportunity maybe for Pike at some point, maybe to fall into a mentorship role for Kirk. Like, will that happen at some point?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's what I'm wondering too. Yeah.
I'm going to poke fun a little bit. This is not like a major critique, but it was something that was in my head. So Paul Wesley, who plays this new Captain Kirk, did anyone ever see, there is this old, like this comedy series. I've not watched a lot of it, to be honest. It's called In Living Color.
Yes.
They had a sketch where Jim Carrey comes on and plays Captain Kirk. And Jim Carrey's look as Captain Kirk looks almost exactly the same as Paul Wesley.
That is brilliant. It is.
Yes,
true.
it is.
It is true. It is true.
The Wrath of Farragut.
He looks almost just like. Well, as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh, I can't get that."
Oh my God. I'm gonna watch that the minute we're done.
Yeah. I have to press it out of my head because it like totally biased my introduction of this poor actor.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, that was perfect.
Let me say this too. Gigantic missed opportunity. The Romulan commander should have been played by James Frain, who played Sarek in Discovery.
Oh, yes. So, yes, you're absolutely right, because I was expecting that.
Yep.
When I heard the music, I said, oh, this is what I think it is. And then the Galaxy Quest guy came on. And I'm wait, where's Spock? I mean, where's Sarek? It's supposed to be Sarek, because we have a Sarek. It's not like we don't have one,
Right.
Had Mark Leonard played Sarek yet at this point?
No,
he hadn't. So whereas James Frain already has played Sarek, so that might have been a bit weird, I guess, to do. Although I would have still appreciated why they did it.
I think it would have been perfect. Like Mike said, that was a missed opportunity right there.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, I'm guessing he must have had other commitments, because I'm sure that thought went through the producers' minds. But
But damn, the Galaxy Quest guy though.
I know. And you know, I was having a hard time putting my finger on it the first time I watched it. I was like, he looks familiar, but I looked at the name. I'm like, I don't know who that is. And I'm like, why does he look so familiar? And then today when I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, it's Galaxy Quest. That's why he looks familiar. They've made him up to look like Galaxy Quest.
Even the black uniforms and stuff are
Yep.
like
Yeah,
that kind of
exactly.
silver. Yeah. I was wondering if they were gonna have like maybe Mbenga drop the McCoy line, the one about the how many million, the mathematical probability of how many planets. I love that quote from Balance of Terror. It's good. Where he's like, there's a mathematical probability of 3 million Earth-type planets, and in all the universe, 3 million galaxies like this, and all of that, perhaps more, only one of each of us says. And I'm like, that's such a cool quote.
Don't destroy the one named Kirk.
Don't destroy the one named Kirk. You know, and then by extension, McCoy saying, "Don't kill me either." That's
Yeah. And another great little shiny bauble was the voice of Scotty, which I thought was really good.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't had the opportunity to listen to your evaluation of episode 9 yet, but you know, I'm kind of wondering if that's the direction that they're going to go.
Yeah, I think everybody is there.
Because, and you know, justifiably so, I will say, because, and I'm sure you remember this, Yvette, in the novels, Scotty's a junior engineer on Pike's Enterprise.
He is.
So it makes sense that he would be there.
That's my headcanon, because that's all I've ever known, because all the novels say that. So because someone asked me that, like, was Scotty on Pike's Enterprise? And I went, yes.
Yep.
And then I thought about, like, well, wait.
In the books, yeah.
In the books, yes. Now that's not canon. I'm like, okay, whatever. You know, there's been a lot of beta canon going on here.
I'm here for it. I love that stuff.
I'm here for all of it.
That's cool. I didn't know that, so thank you for that tidbit.
You're welcome.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, there are very few that carried over.
Yes. Very few.
But Scotty was one of them. And I do remember Uhura wasn't in the beginning of when they were doing Pike stories, but toward the newer stuff that had come out, the most recent, she was in it. I think at that point she might have even been an ensign, not a cadet. So
yeah, I believe she's gonna probably be an ensign next year anyway.
Yeah, I think
next
so too.
Season. Yeah.
The thing I think that got me the most about this episode was the resolution at the end, talking about Spock, the two Pikes. And you know, I didn't, and I'm sure everyone else did, I'm just dense, I didn't pick up on it right away that, you know, not only is it the exchange, Spock has to take Pike's place, but the fact that this really can shape how you look at the menagerie now.
Exactly.
And I love that.
Yep.
Because I love the menagerie.
Yep.
But I love that this kind of feeds into, why would Spock do that? Yes, he's loyal. Why would he risk his life just to bring his captain to a planet where he can live out a life?
That's right.
I thought it was nice how they played that up here.
The moment between them was very sweet. I'm so glad to see you. He's like, Captain, you only saw me a moment ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want you to know you're very important to me. He's like, and to you, and you to me too, Captain. And then he's like, Chris.
And he said that in Discovery too, when they finally saw him. They had that same kind of conversation in Discovery too.
And in a way, the episode throws all the way forward to TNG.
Yeah.
Yes.
When old Pike and young Pike are talking to each other, he's like, the hope for reconciliation we have between the Vulcans and the Romulans, everything is now laying in a sick bay, maybe dead, because we know that that's the role that Spock goes on to play in Reunion. Reconciliation? Reunion.
No.
Redemption.
No.
Reunification.
Reunification.
Yes, thank you.
One of those words.
There's too many re's in the Star Trek universe.
Oh my gosh. We all knew that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it goes farther than that. I mean, it goes all the way to the 32nd century when Navarre. I mean, there's no Navarre without Spock.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, he has to live.
Yeah.
You know, there's no Kelvin universe without Spock.
Yeah.
He is the one, you know. Yeah. So yeah, he's gotta live. So the reason why I don't give it a thumbs down is because of that part.
Yeah.
That's why I said there was no need to bring Kirk in, because it wasn't about Kirk, it was about Spock. And these writers do this where, you know, it's shiny shiny baubles so you can be like, ooh, fan service. Ooh, look who's this. And you forget about the story. That part of the story was really good. Yeah, I thought that was perfect. The part at the end with the cliffhanger, I hated it.
Me
Okay,
too.
so I'm sick and tired of seeing women. I used to say Black women, but now they've done it to Una also. I'm tired of seeing women get led off, the powerful women get led off in chains. And this is not good. I mean, I'm sure some people are like, oh, it's just storyline. But yeah, but it was in Discovery, it was in Lower Decks, and now it's here. I'm done. I'm done with this. I know it's part of storyline and it happens, but let's think of something else to do.
I wanted to see some scenes where she's in the captain's chair, like doing
Me
some cool
too.
stuff with
Me
Pike
too.
sort of out of the way for a while. And
Me too.
Because we saw some of that in Discovery.
We sure did.
yeah,
You're right. I thought we would see more of that.
And then we got this cliffhanger with her. I'm like, wait, what? You know, I mean, the reason why I wanted to watch this show was because of her. Number one was the reason why I wanted to see Strange New Worlds. And then I found out there was going to be, you know, a horror. And I was like, yeah, perfect. Babanga.
Mhm.
But I wanted to see it because of her. And like you said, I didn't get anything I thought I was going to get. And then you lead her. And at the end, you know, she's going to jail. I'm like, come on.
that's how the show started. It started with her in jail as well. That's
Right.
how it
You know what? You're right.
I didn't think of that.
You're right. Jeez.
Yeah. It just bookended her. Beginning of the
Ugh.
season, she's in jail. End of the season, she's still in jail. It's like, okay,
She's
come
back
on.
in there.
I know.
So yeah. So I don't want to see any more of that. Let's move on.
And you know, I thought it was over with too, with Ghosts of Illyria. Pike said, hey, you know what? I don't care who you are, what you are. You're the best of us. And she felt guilty. And she had that monologue too, where, you know, she said, would I be getting this credit if I wasn't the hero?
Right.
And I feel like Pike would, but maybe not everybody else. He's extremely loyal to everybody, it seems like, unless they give him a reason not to be.
Boy Scout.
Yeah, that's right. Boy Scout. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Don't call me that. Like, sir, it's in your file.
Yeah.
You saw his face. He was like,
Yeah, what?
Library computer, data being received.
We'd like to take a moment to talk about Fansets, the presenting sponsor of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
Fansets merchandise, as we know, is the leader in pin collectibles for Star Trek. But they offer more than that. In addition to Star Trek, you can find pins for The Big Bang Theory, Scooby-Doo, DC Comics, Batman 66, Harry Potter, and Rick and Morty.
As a listener to the show, you can receive 10% off your next order from Fansets by using code TrekGeeks, all capital letters, at checkout. And remember that you receive free shipping in the US on orders over $30 or more. Fansets, our pins have character. And we thank Fansets for being the presenting sponsor of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
Starfleet Command is proud to present you the Christopher Pike Medal of Valor.
Awards, medals, where are they going? Mike, we'll start off with you.
Now that the two of you have crushed my dreams over this episode.
Welcome back, Mike.
Yeah. I see where you're going with the writing side of things, Yvette.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna give an award on the writing to one of the writers, and that's Henry Alonzo Myers, because he has been involved in a number of these episodes throughout the season where we don't get, like you said, the shiny object to divert our attention. If it was just the monster maroon, great, that's not diverting. But I think he attempted to tell a story in a certain way. I believe he achieved what he was going for to a degree. Who knows whose idea it was to have Kirk in there. So I can't say that's him or Akiva, but yeah, I felt
Pattern in practice.
yeah. I felt Kirk was shoehorned in there, so I can't give any credit for that. But you know, other than that, I did like the different look on Balance of Terror, And then, as I said, the different way for us to consider the menagerie based off of this as well. I think Paul Wesley did a pretty good job of being a Kirk, because, and it's hard because I think everyone's thought process is to do a Shatner impersonation.
Yes.
And I think that's why people liked Chris Pine so much, because he didn't do that. He did his own thing. It was a little bit of a sample size, but I didn't mind how he portrayed Kirk in this. I got to see more to know if I'm going to like it, but it didn't bother me, we'll say, how he played the role in this. So I'll give him an award for that. It's a participation trophy.
Thanks for showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yvette, what are you thinking?
So I didn't have any awards until I just heard Mike, and I am going to give Paul Wesley a participation medal because he was okay as Kirk. He didn't bother me. I didn't feel bad about him. I mean, it was okay. I believed he was Kirk. It was cool. But I don't have any award for this one. Nope.
Okay, that's fair. That's allowed. That's okay. I got two. So one, I was going to throw it out to the writing team. I know that I had my issues with how this episode was constructed, but I think it was a neat idea. And if they had to find something to talk about, like what would be the actual ramifications of having Pike maintain command, and we had to think about where they might diverge in their thinking, then this is kind of a neat idea. I would not have thought of that. So I think that's pretty cool. And so I like the idea behind it. I've done this a couple times, so it might feel like cheating. I'm going to go with VFX again on this episode. When I was watching, especially that one scene where they're going through the comet together with both ships, and I was like, oh, I've got desktop screen captures right here. I'm like, I'm trying to get the photos of the ship and the comet, and I'm like, I got to throw that on my screen. It's super cool.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it looked really neat. And a couple times in watching the episodes, I'm like, oh, pause, screen capture. I want to do desktop image, because they look really cool. And I was like, hey, if I was in space and I was flying around, I'd want to fly my spaceship through the tail of a comet. That would be pretty cool.
You know what? I think I want to give a third award as I'm thinking about it here.
All right.
And I think the reason why it didn't show up on my radar right away, and now it just is because she has one scene and one set of lines in the whole show. And that's Jess Bush as Chapel.
Christine.
It was heartbreaking. When I had originally watched it, I was focusing on what she was saying because it matched up with what Pike's injuries were.
Yes.
But then I started to think about it. I'm like, well, she is just devastated by this. And you wonder what the long-term effects would be on her.
Yeah.
But she played it so well, I thought, especially after having just rewatched Spock Amok with my family and seeing that relationship first begin to surface. Great job to her.
She definitely brought that scene together. Yeah. Hey, I was wondering, do we want to give any awards out for the season since this is the finale? Well, obviously I have something since I brought it up.
You can lead with that if you want.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
The reason why I brought it up is because I always think about the first seasons of Star Trek shows, and people will always say, oh, but don't start until this season, or don't start until that season. And I'm famous for going, oh no, you start at episode 1, just like the rest of us.
Yeah.
You go through what we had to go through because it makes you enjoy. It's like a fine wine, It makes you enjoy a lot more. Like, oh, it came from this. And then, the last, well, maybe not Enterprise, but the last episode is like, oh, this was great, perfect. Every series has a really terrible first season, except for Lower Decks. Lower Decks, I think, had the best first season I've ever seen in Trek until Strange New Worlds. Even though I didn't really care for this episode, like I said, I did not hate it. I don't think I've hated one episode or disliked.
Yeah.
There are episodes in DS9 I dislike, which is crazy, right? But I don't think I've disliked an episode yet. So I want to give an award for the best first season of any Trek series ever. The Strange New Worlds.
All right.
Nice.
Wow. Well, that is a hard-earned award. So I
It
think
is.
I think it's deserving for
I
sure.
think
Yes.
yeah.
Yvette is a tough critic, and to say that
I take my trick very seriously.
I can appreciate your viewpoint on that so much more, considering the dialogue we had before we even started this about
Yeah.
how much we could not wait for this. Like we had been waiting since the cage for this.
Yep.
So yeah, for them to put something out there, and then I mean, you're right, they delivered.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe we didn't like all the concepts of an episode. Maybe we didn't like the direction that they might have gone in certain things, but I agree. Like there wasn't any. I would sit down and rewatch this whole season, no reservations.
No reservations. Right.
I wonder if we can distill the quality down in a season like this, because it's so many fewer episodes as well. Like, you got
Oh,
that
That's
10
true. That's
like a
very
10
true.
episode, like you were mentioning, Yvette, that there in the first season of DS9, there definitely are some like doozies of an
Clunkers.
episode.
Yeah.
But I wonder if you could pick 10 of them and make like a solid season, just like we could with
Yes.
Strange New Worlds. And it's just the way like factory TV was pushed out at those times. It's just how.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw all that stuff, when it came out.
Yeah.
I was
Oh, yeah.
sitting watching it come out. So
I just wonder, like, I can't even imagine what it'd be like to have to produce 24 episodes or 26 episodes of a show in a season now. I'm really glad that if there's one thing that this streaming format has brought to us, is you have showrunners that can say, like, this is going to be 6 episodes and that's it, or it's going to be
We
10.
want right, and we're going to do high quality in
Yeah.
those. I get exactly where you're coming from on that, Matthew, and to that I'm going to say there's some season 1 of Picard. Now there are some episodes that I loved from season 1, but then there are some that I could totally do without. And I'll tell you what, Discovery got this whole thing rolling, and I am an unabashed Discovery fan, but I really was not impressed with the first 2 episodes of Discovery. It was a good prologue to the series,
right.
but I'm like you, that why at the end of this episode is this person who is supposed to be our hero getting dragged away in handcuffs?
Right.
Is it because she's a woman? Is it because she's a woman of color?
Yeah.
What's the point of all of this?
That's the question. What was the point of that? I mean, even today, and Discovery's going to go in the 5th season, which I cannot believe. I still go, well, what was the point of that?
How does it affect her character now?
Right. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't at all. So if there was a good reason for it, I guess I could be okay with it. Like I'm hoping for with Lower Decks. I'm hoping that I'm trusting Mike McMahon to really bring the power. I mean, there better be something good for putting Dawn Lewis in handcuffs. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got Jaleesa in handcuffs, Mike. It better be good. It better be good. The minute I saw this, we're hauling Una off. That really was like, you know what? Really? Come on. This is a trope now. Come on.
I think what I am going to say in honor of the Sci-Fi Sisters' latest guest, I'm going to give an award to Erica Ortegas, Melissa Navia. Hers was the role that there was no backstory at all for coming into this. Everyone else seemed to have some kind of anchor within the series, and she was able to start from the beginning, and she did great. I love it. Her and La'an, I think, are my 2 favorite characters from this first season. She gets the award because La'an had the Khan backstory.
He talks about it in our interview. He talks about that very thing.
Kind of riffing off of this, but my version of this will be most looking forward to second season in a long time to Star Trek award. That's what I'm going to do.
There you
because Yvette and I have talked about this already, but I still haven't even watched a single episode of season 2 of Picard yet. But I am really looking forward to season 2 of Strange New Worlds. I feel like they're going to honor the direction that they've taken it in. I do want to see Una come back. I hope that's not a thing that like she just stays in jail for the rest of her time, and that's how we get rid of that character so that Spock can take over for First Officer. And it's been a long time since I've been this much looking forward to a new season of Star Trek. Although I do really love Lower Decks. I'm looking forward to the next season of that too.
Love that show.
Well, thank you all. And Mike, glad you're back. And also, Mike, thanks for making this happen to begin with.
Thanks, Mike. And
thank
thanks
you.
for thinking of me. I mean, this was great. I appreciate it because, I wasn't really interested in doing another. I wasn't even interested with my podcast. So, you
been there.
But when you brought this to me, I was like, really? I was like, yeah, I think I would want to do this. I was just so excited about this coming on. I was not disappointed at all. I like it that there were some episodes that I didn't really like. I mean, I like that. I shouldn't like them all. You should be able to pick. I'm a Star Trek fan. I want to nitpick, at something, So yeah, but thank you. I appreciate you thinking about me for this.
Well, I am on board with both of you for season 2. As I said at the outset, this is my new series. So until they prove me wrong, I am on board with this one.
Music for Discovering Trek is provided by 5 Year Mission. They're writing an original song for each episode of Star Trek. Hear more of their music at 5yearmission.net. Discovering Trek is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Well, that wraps us for Discovering Trek Strange New World Season 1. On behalf of Yvette, Mike, our guest hosts, and myself, thank you for joining us on this journey where no one has gone before in these new stories of the Enterprise and its crew. You can always find more of Yvette on the Sci-Fi Sisters and more of myself on With the First Link, both shows hosted here on the Trek Geeks Network. More Trek to come, though, with Strange New World Season 2, and at time of recording this, Lower Decks Season 3 air date has been announced for August 25th. So exciting. So live long and prosper, and we'll see you out there among the stars. Trek Geeks, nobody talks Trek like we do.